A lot of things surprised me when I went back and analyzed my own experience. Sales is a lie. You have been sold a lie, and sales itself is the lie that you have been sold. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Money Mondays. My name is Brandon Burns. I'm your host, and I'm also the booking agent slash right hand day-to-day slash best friend maybe slash we don't really do job titles, but I work very, very closely with Dr. Eric Thomas, ET, #1 motivational speaker in the world. And as a part of working closely with him in that very non-descriptive job role, I've sold a lot of stuff. As a matter of fact, I was going back through all the receipts and documentation the other day, and I noticed that in just 2 years, I've sold between booked speaking engagements and high-ticket products that I've personally pitched and sold from stage. I've sold over $5 million worth of stuff. And I leaned back and I said, that ain't bad, B. That ain't bad. And I said, I want to make a video about the lessons that I've learned in sales from that experience of selling over $5 million worth of products and services in the last 2 years working for ET, Dr. Eric Thomas. And a lot of things surprised me when I really went back and analyzed my own history, my own experience, when I looked at it objectively and said, what did I learn throughout this process? Because it's so funny how sometimes you go through it, but when you're in the picture, sometimes you can't see the frame. And it's hard to tell what you're really learning, and it's hard to remain conscious of it and keep it front of mind when you're going through the process. So I said, let me stop. Let me review this experience. Let me actually integrate it. Let me break this all down, and then let me teach and share what I've learned through this experience and give it away to all of you so that hopefully you can experience even more success even faster. So top 3 things that I learned, right? First and foremost, and I know this is a video about sales, but the first thing that I learned is that sales is fake and brand is the truth. Sales is a lie. You have been sold a lie, and sales itself is the lie that you have been sold. Let me explain. Before I got started with ET, I was interested, obviously, in business and entrepreneurship, and I wanted to go down this career path. And so I trained myself. I was constantly looking for entrepreneurial content and trying to get self-educated. And a big part of that was sales training. And so I looked up Grant Cardone videos, Brad Lee videos, Jordan Belfort, the straight line system, and I learned how to do straight line sales. I learned how to do pre-framing, how to do objection overcomes, how to isolate an objection, all these different things. I learned about that, and then I went into this sales role with ET, and it completely blew all that out of the water. Now let me explain. Those skills that those other guys are teaching are 100% valid. Like, they're great and they work. I've used them before, but they're not necessary if you have a proper brand. Now, what do I mean by that? Very, very early into my career with ET, I get an email. Somebody had filled out the booking form on the website, bookericthomas.com. And it came to my inbox, and I responded, say, hey, great news, ET is available on that date. Would you like to move forward? Here's the price. At that point in time, it was $100,000 for a 45-minute keynote. These days it's higher, but back in the day, that's what he was charging. And the guy emails me back and said, absolutely, I want to move forward. Here's the email to send the contract to. Let me know the wire information. I'll get the wire completed by the end of the week. I was so shook. Like, I literally closed a 6-figure deal through email. Never once did I talk to the guy. And I sat there and I said, dude, how in the world can you commit to such an expense, such an investment, without asking any questions, without speaking to somebody on the phone, without talking to the booking agent, without going through logistics first, without talking about the topic or the title of the speech first? Like, we always get to that stuff, but most people want to do that up front. And this guy was just like, bet, let's go. How do I pay? And I thought about it and I said, the only way that you can possibly feel comfortable enough to do that is when you are 100% sure that you are going to get the outcome that you desire from that individual. That's the only way. So he had a couple of things. He had, #1, clarity on what he wanted, right? He knew what problem that he wanted to solve by bringing in a speaker, and he knew who he believed was capable of solving that problem. Now, he knew what the solution was that he wanted. He had a particular vision in mind of what he wants to fix and what it's supposed to look like once it is fixed. And then he knew, or he was convicted, that E.T. was the man to accomplish that mission. Like, he was just positive that that's who he needed to execute. And then last but not least, he was 100% convicted and positive that when E.T. arrived at his venue, when he took the stage at his event, that he was going to deliver and solve the problem that he hired him to solve in the first place. So he was 100% sure that E was going to be able to go in there and deliver. And I sat back and I said, that had nothing to do with my negotiation skills. Had nothing to do with what I told him. That had nothing to do with what we discussed. That had everything to do with the fact that E.T. has been showing up consistently for the past 20 years. It has everything to do with the fact that E.T. has done so many speaking engagements, he's blown away so many audiences, and he solved so many people's problems that it is just expected that he's going to kill it if you book him. That is the power of a brand. And so now it starts to make sense where you start to hear guys like Hormozi say, you only sell because you don't know how to do product, right? In this case, he is the product. And so when you're that good, over time, that's what really creates a brand. All a brand is being known for being phenomenal at one or two things for a long period of time, right? Because you think about the latest TikTok star who blew up, maybe, I don't care what niche, they're an entrepreneurship business influencer, they're a singer, it doesn't really matter what they do. If they blow up really, really fast, it's hard to say that they have a brand, right? They might have a personal brand, they have a social media presence, but it's kind of tough to say they have a brand. Now, that same person over 10 years, now they got a brand, right? Your latest TikTok influencer don't have a brand. Tai Lopez has a brand now, because he's been in the game for so long, right? Some random apparel store that drop ships t-shirts, they don't really have a brand. They've got a product, they've got a social media presence, but it's not a brand. You don't know for sure what you're gonna get. They haven't established themselves over time. They haven't become known for one or two things at an incredibly high level. You can't be sure yet. That's what a brand is. Nike, you know what you're getting. It just is what it is. It's established, right? So the very first thing that I learned throughout this journey of selling $5 million worth of stuff in the last 2 years is brand means everything. It has to be protected at all costs. And if you get really, really good at brand, which again is product over time, executing on your product or service at a high level over time, if you get good enough at brand, sales is almost unnecessary. That's lesson number one. Number two, it really ties hand in hand with that, is that expected value is better than explained value, all right? Expected value is better than explained value. Now, if you've taken any sales training, any sales courses at all, you know that kind of the main premise is explaining the value of something so that people understand that the price is one thing, but the value is so much higher that it's actually a really good deal for them, and it makes it a no-brainer type of offer, a no-brainer type of sale. There's really nothing to object to because it's just so good, and we know it's a good fit for them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? I don't want to repeat the basics of sales. We can do another video on that another time. But what I learned through this process of realizing what brand really is that expected value is so much better than explained value. What do I mean by that? Pre-framing is everything. If all I do is say, hey, here's my thing, here's my widget, I want to sell it to you for this amount of money, and here's why it's worth it. Here's why it's going to solve your problem. Here's why we're better than our competitors. Here's why you need it today and you shouldn't wait tomorrow. Here's why, here's why, here's why. You're explaining the value. And when you do that, you're constantly fighting an uphill battle, because immediately in your prospect's mind, they're sitting there thinking, okay, well, automatically it's a no. Like, the default is always no, right? Nobody ever wants to buy anything. And then you have to sit there and justify and defend yourself and do all this hand-to-hand combat as to why your product, your service, your business, your whatever it is a good deal and a good idea for them to get involved with. It's an uphill battle. They've already made up their mind. You're trying to change it. Don't do that. That should be your last resort. Expected value is when we start to pre-frame, right? A lot of speakers are really, really good at this, at least in our industry, right? I work in the personal development industry, coaching, consulting, speaking, all that good stuff. And a lot of speakers are starting to hear, E.T., by the way, was like one of the first people to do this, but you'll start to hear speakers drop their price on stage. I charge X amount of dollars an hour. I charge X amount of thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars per hour. So imagine if you follow somebody's content. Imagine if you follow one of these speakers, these coaches, these influencers on Instagram or something, and once a week for the next year and a half, you hear them talk about how they charge $50,000 for a keynote. You hear them talk about how they charge $100,000 for one speaking engagement. You hear about how they coached one client and they took 25% of their business, Shark Tank style, right? And you hear this over and over and over and over and over again, and then boom, 2 years later, they drop a course for $2,000. You're thinking, oh, it's such a good deal. I would normally have to pay $50,000, $60,000, $100,000 for this. And they're gonna give all of their information for $2,000. Oh my gosh, I've gotta have it. That's exactly what they want you to think. I'm probably giving away too much game for free in this video, but I'm just telling you, it's not necessarily manipulative if they actually charge that kind of money. Like, you are getting a very good deal, so don't misunderstand me. If you've never done a speaking gig in your life and you're like, oh, I charge $128 billion for, stop it. That's lying. That's not pre-framing. Pre-framing is using facts to pre-sell before you even give somebody an offer. So you're lowering the objection. So, okay, what's the objection there? Value. $2,000 for a course? Why in the world would I ever pay that? We're going to answer that question before they even have the opportunity to ask it by pre-framing and saying, well, normally if you want to get around me for an hour, it's going to cost somebody 50 grand, right? And you're going to get 10, 20 hours of pre-recorded content that's specifically step-by-step blueprint going to walk you through exactly how to get to the solution that you wanted. Now all of a sudden it looks like a great deal, right? That's what I mean when I say expected value, because they're expecting to get really good value. They're expecting it to be really expensive. Now all of a sudden you're giving them a good deal. Expected value is better than explained value, all right? That's two. Last but not least, secret number 3 that I've learned about sales through this process of selling over $5 million worth of stuff in the last 2 years of my career is this. Show me the money. Show me the money. What do I mean by that? What's the ROI? It's all great. It's all amazing, right? The sales process is great. My brand was phenomenal. I pre-framed like an expert until somebody hits me with, hey, what's the average ROI on an investment like this? And watch out, you might get a super sophisticated guy that says, hey, what's the IRR? What's the internal rate of return on an investment like this? What's this look like? And then you sit there going, well, you know, if you get 1% better from buying my course, or your audience gets 1% more sales because they did this. Now you're standing there stumbling over your words, trying to look like an idiot, trying to explain to these people, right? You're justifying. You're playing defense. It's that hand-to-hand combat. You don't want that. You want to be a sniper, right? So what do we do about that? You've got to have proof. You've got to have proof, all right? You've got to have data. You've got to have percentages. You've got to have pre and post. I don't care what it is. If you're a speaker, go survey your audience. It can be self-reported metrics. It doesn't have to be anything that's going to hold up against a peer-reviewed study of psychology PhDs, right? It can just be self-reported pre and post data. How'd you feel before? How'd you feel after? If you work with schools, what was the retention like before I worked with you guys? What was the retention like after I worked with your school? If you work for a sales, or if you go in and work with a sales company, whether you're a speaker, coach, trainer, executive coach, you design curriculum, right? You do some sort of consulting, business development, growth, like whatever it is that you do. It literally doesn't matter. I don't care what you do. Even if you sell a product, right? Even if you sell a widget. Okay, great example. I have a Corvette. It's a Z06, super fast. Just the other day, I bought, geez, will I transfer your call? I have it right here. Look at this. Look at this beauty. This is called a throttle body, all right? I don't know if you'll be able to see it with the glare there from the lights. This is called a throttle body, and what this does is when you push the gas pedal, this valve opens, all right? And that is basically what helps the fuel and the air mix inside the cylinders. Boom, fast car. Okay, automotive lesson done for the day. That throttle body, when you go to their website, and you look at it before you purchase, it says increases horsepower by 12. You start at 650 horsepower, and on average, after install, you have 662 horsepower. That's data. They're telling me the result that I can expect. What product do you buy without having data or proof to support that it's actually gonna do what they say it's gonna do after you buy it? Nothing. Now, it might be implied data. I just kind of trust that when I flip that switch, my light's gonna turn on and off. It's implied proof because I've used lights many, many times in my career, or I should probably say in my life, right? But if you're selling something to somebody, especially if it's a premium product, especially if it's high ticket, whether it's a physical product, whether it's a service, you need some sort of proof, some sort of data, otherwise nobody's going to care, right? And this all leads into the brand. It all leads into the expected value. Rather than having to explain it, you can just say, hey, here's the numbers. Here's the numbers. Men lie, women lie. Numbers tell the truth. All right? That's the top 3 things that I learned over the last couple years of my career selling $5 million worth of stuff. Hey, I'll give you a 4th bonus one really quick. By the way, if you want to get better at branding yourself or branding your business, right? If you want to learn how to collect data, if you want to work on your sales skills, right? Because again, all those 3 things that we talked about are incredibly important, but every once in a while, you're going to have that client that's a little difficult. You're going to need to know how to overcome objections. You're going to need to learn how to sell. You're going to need to learn how to pre-frame. You're going to need to learn how to have your slides. If you're a presenter or a speaker, you're going to need to learn how to pre-frame using your presentation. You're going to have to learn how to isolate objections. You're going to need to learn all of those things. And the only way that you're going to actually get better at all of that stuff is if you practice it every single day. It's not enough to do it once a month. Certainly not enough to do it once a year. You buy one course, you're done. Boom, once a year professional development, not enough. Every single day. All right, go check out everydaymeanseveryday.com. That's everydaymeanseveryday.com. We got a whole community dedicated to improving themselves, leveling up, being held accountable on the daily for developing skills just like this. All right, so in closing, y'all, if you want to get better sales, learn how to build your brand in such a way that people just simply expect incredible results. Then be able to back those incredible results up with proven data. Set those expectations for your customers, for your clients, for your prospects. Set the expectations for them by giving them real data that supports the promises that you make. From there, it's a no-brainer. I hope y'all enjoyed this episode of Money Mondays. Don't forget to share this with somebody else who's going to get value from it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to all the social media, YouTube-y stuff. Share this, please. I'm super passionate about getting these messages out there and helping more people and impacting more people. And I cannot wait to see you on the next episode of Money Mondays. Peace.